Alrighty fam, welcome back to another video, and this is part 2 in the guide to how to clear the bird, I guess. So first video we did was the team building guide. If you haven't seen that and you are looking to know how to build a team, please go back and check that out, because I will be referring to a couple of things that we spoke about in that team building guide. But otherwise, we are going to get into it. So this is the team I'm going to be running. We have our Demonic Beast unit, we have our DPS, we have our support, which I've kind of turned into a DPS with Escanor, and then we actually have our Taunt unit. Now I'm running this Diane. Obviously, we spoke about different Taunt units last time in the team building guide. If you want to, you can pick any other Taunt units. You guys might not have this Diane. I'm just going to use her because she's helpful. So you can run Old Festival Diane, Matrona, etc, etc. So this is going to be my team. I'm going to show you guys when we get to the death stage on floor 2, and I'm going to use the taunt method just to show you guys. You can obviously run the death strategy with Escanor, but we'll get into that. So I have attack crit on my damage dealer / my support unit. I have HP defense on my tank, attack defense on Magelda. I am running this gear set, so it is making it a little bit easier for me, but all the mechanics and stuff are going to be the same. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So the main strategy for this first floor is you want to save all your big heavy hitting cards for the final phase of this floor. The first three phases are kind of whatever. The main thing is at the final phase, he gets a very, very strong defense increase, so you really want to have like a lot of single targets for Demon King melee with true creation. Maybe you want to have an ultimate for Escanor and melee. I'm going to save the fingers as well, so I'll show you guys what I mean. I'm basically just going to yeet out these cards, I guess. I'll do this. I'll do one. I'll do that. And no. We're just gonna kill. So you guys will probably not kill on this first part. So if you can't, that's totally okay. All you're going to do is taunt up with Diane, or you're just going to keep trucking along through this. So this is nothing. The beast isn't too nuts on this first phase. He kind of just attacks you. He'll usually attack the person with the type disadvantage here. So type disadvantage will actually be Diane for me because it's red into green. Now there's no difference in type disadvantage or advantage. But it's just how the bird operates, which is very interesting. So again, I'm just kind of going to throw away some cards here. I am actually going to taunt with Diane because he does not have a damage cap on this phase, but I'm not, and we'll use that because we top decked another melee card, so I'm going to be sitting pretty good when he gets all creation, as long as I can proc all creation. All right. So again, this phase doesn't really have a damage. I should have taunted first. This part doesn't have a damage cap, as you guys can see. So again, just do what you can. I'm going to try and balance this out in terms of showing you guys what I like, the damage and stuff that you can do, but also not obviously just one-shotting every single floor, because you guys will probably not be able to do that, and that's totally okay. One thing that I would definitely recommend doing is getting Magelda's ult. The power strike cards are infinitely good for that next phase. So again, when I say you have really high damage, basically you want something with power strike, amplify, or one of the new units that can dish out a heck of a lot of damage, because there is a damage cap and he has insane defenses. So I'm kind of just going to probably just throw that away as well, and then I'm just gonna save those cards. So there is a damage cap on this phase. I think it's 100. I think it's I want to say 20-25%, something like that. We'll find out with this. Yeah, so that's about what, 25%, 30%. So you basically obviously just need to survive this phase. He does have a buff cancel, as you guys see. He took away my buffs on Diane. So make sure if you're running something like Trader Melee, he doesn't take away Trader Melee's buffs, because that's how Trader Melee is going to do damage in the next phase, right? So just be careful there. So make sure you have your taunt unit, or sometimes you've just kind of got to get lucky and risk it, right? Cool, so I have a couple of all creations here, which is good. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to heal my team up with Magelda, get her ult. I'm actually going to get Escanor ult too. And then I'm just going to throw away this card. So now I'm going into the final phase, and I've got multiple ults, which will hopefully help me. So again, the first two phases aren't anything too crazy. Basically just do the damage, and then this phase is a buff removal. So again, just be careful it doesn't take away buffs on your damage dealer, because you're going to want that, right? And then this phase, this is the phase that's the most difficult for most people. His defense is now 526,000, right? So you basically, again, you want to be using power strike cards, you want to be using really strong damage dealing cards, like probably melee's cards, amplify cards, anything along those lines that's going to deal out a lot of damage for you. So I'm actually going to taunt up here, just to kind of show you guys. I think that well, I'll be able to go straight through this, so I'm not going to bother taunting, but there's also a damage cap on this phase as well. There you go. So you can't do more than 30%. So you need to make sure you have a bunch of strong cards saved up in order to be able to do the damage to break through his defenses. Now, if you take too long, I think it's 3 turns, it'll then switch. You'll get grey recovery disabled across your whole team, right? If you take too long to break this down, you don't really want to get to that point. So if you are saving up large cards, or maybe you got a bad RNG run, what I'd recommend is getting it still done in those 3 turns if you can, even delaying and stalling on the previous phases, right? On phase 3 and phase 2. Well, no, maybe not phase 2, maybe phase 3, just to get a few more of these cards. That'll help you if you're concerned you're not going to be able to do enough damage. So we're going to start just by throwing ults at him, basically, and then this will break him down, right? So again, power strike's your best choice here, or very high, Escanor, melee ults, stuff like that, right? So again, we hit damage cap on everyone. We're just here, and now we're going to finish off. Right, so that's how you can do it on that. Again, be careful you don't take too long, because if you take past 3 points, you will get recovery disabled, and if you don't do any damage as well, I believe you get recovery disabled too. So that's the first 4, pretty straightforward. The only thing really to worry about is that final phase, where you're going to want to do a lot of damage. Now again, you can do it with like level 90s True Awakened, but I'd recommend level 100s. It's just going to make your life a little bit easier. So let's get straight into floor 2. So the main gimmick or thing that you're going to want to be careful of here is floor 2, phase 2. Actually, I suppose the middle 2 floors are probably the worst. So, sorry, the middle 2 phases of this floor is what I mean. So, depending on whether you're running taunt or whether you're running damage here, you want to save your taunt or save your death damage cards for the next phase. And I'll explain why, and I'll show you guys why in a second. So we're just going to throw away some random cards here. I think I'll just do that. But I want to keep my taunts because I'm running a taunt team, right? So that's what I need to be careful of. So I'm going to keep my taunt, or again, you keep your death damage cards, because you're going to want to survive you want to keep them for the next fight. Now we top decked a heal card, which is quite nice. So I'm going to use this to heal up my team. Again, if you have Holy Relic, it's going to make your life easier. If you don't, that's totally okay. What it'll mean is you just want to heal basically immediately to top deck full HP. So then you get all the basic stat increases. So here I'm just going to go... That should be enough. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to heal, like that. So then I'm going to get I'm going to top deck all the stat increases as well. Get everyone back up to full HP, get the basic stats, but this should, do more than enough. Okay, so this phase. What happens on this phase is he cannot be damaged. He heals for 100% of his defense when his HP reaches 0. So what that means is when his HP gets 0, he'll get a little bit of health back, just a tiny bit. Now, why that a problem is because it means you will have to tank a turn if you don't use death damage, because he has a... Where is it? There's a damage cap, which it's not showing, which is very... There we go. Oh no. There. So basically 30%. You can't do more than 30% damage to him. So you do 1 attack, you do 2 attacks, you do 3 attacks, and then your 4th attack will kill him, but then he'll heal for a little bit. Now the reason why you need to be careful is this red attack card here. This red attack card is this. It inflicts damage equal to 100% of attack, and then restores HP equal to 100% of damage dealt. So basically he will full heal, and he will basically just wipe your team if you don't have a taunt up, right? It misses when you're using a taunt. Now, the way to combat that is, like we're saying, is a taunt card, or it is via death damage. So if you can do 30% bit of death damage, 30% bit of death damage, 30% death damage, you're sweet. The other option is you just do 30%, 30%, 30%, and then your final attack was Escanor, and you'll do the final little bit, it'll come back and he'll heal a little bit, and then Escanor's death damage will kick in and it'll take it away, right? So I could probably get away with doing that, but I'm not going to for this run. I'm going to show you guys the taunt because I'm going to show you the attack and what happens. So we're just going to clear up our hand a little bit. So I'm going to do that. I'll throw that away. We'll do this. So, and again, this is where you need blue Tamil Link, not red Tamil Link, because what happens is, because that red card was the third attack, it actually means that if Merlin gets attacked, if Diane gets attacked twice, you'll skill disable the bird, which means the attack will actually just kill. So that's why Tamil Link is needed, because he'll attack twice, he'll disable himself, and then that skill will wipe, because that misses as part of the taunt. Alright, so there you go. So missed, because I have that. Again, if you have red Tamil Link and he gets disabled, it means your team gets wiped. Sometimes you get lucky and this is further up, but in short, you need to make sure, you want to make sure that you have blue Tamil if you're running a, what's it called, a taunt team. So this is going to get past this next phase. Now, with this as well, if you're not comfortable with speedrunning and doing death damage all the way through, I would recommend also just running a taunt team, because it's going to make your life easier, because the next phase is actually a little bit annoying and you kind of want a one-shot in it, and I'll explain what I mean very shortly. So let's do... no, that's a bit of a waste. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll just do that, and then I'll get rid of that, and I'll move that. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to drop it down. You'll see it. I shouldn't have done this card actually. You'll see it pop back up, and then the death damage kicks in. So that's actually perfect, because that shows you guys how the death damage works if you get down on that first phase, but also it shows you what happens when you want the taunt. Now, this phase, I think it's past 30%, he gets or up to 30% he gets a defense increase. Down to 30% he gets a HP and recovery increase, and then below that he actually gets a crit damage and crit chance increase. So you don't want to end up in this bottom third piece, because if you do, he will do a lot of damage to your team and he will hurt a lot. So here I basically just like to one-shot the entire phase, which I'll show you guys. If you can't do that, what I'd recommend doing, getting him down to kind of somewhere around here, then he just gets the defense increase, and then when you've saved up a few more cards, you can do the rest of the bar of health. So I'll explain what I mean. So let's do that, let's do that, let's do that, and then I will finish with this. So you'll see his... So because we got straight past, he got well, there's the defense actually, sorry. So there's the defense and resistance increase. Now it drops into a recovery and health increase. And now it drops into an attack and crit damage increase. So again, this is where you don't want to leave it. You either want to one-shot like you just saw there, or again, drop him down to about 35%, get the defense, and then finish him off. Now this final phase, there's nothing really too special or spectacular about this phase. I would just throw cards away, / at him. That's kind of the way I do it. But those are the two kind of more tricky phases of phase 2. So taunt and death damage for phase 2, and then for phase 3, either don't do too much damage or one-shot him, depending on what your kind of team is capable of doing. So again, that's damage cap on all of those. So 30%. It's quite a common damage cap on the bird. It just saves you from basically, almost basically one-shotting. Alright. So there you go, and his attack on this floor will take away your ult gauge. So do be careful if you're relying on ults to get you through this. I would just use all ults, or again, this is where your taunt unit comes in a lot of help. So I'm just going to heal up just for the sake of it. But this is this floor done now. So again, don't be kind of don't have a problem if you're not doing it as simple or smoothly as me. I've done this a lot of times, and I'm very familiar with the mechanics, and my team is kind of overpowered for this. So everyone's at their own different stages of the game. There's lots of different teams you can use for different kind of outcomes. So right, I've had a lot of people commenting from the other team building guide that they use all humans. That works. You can run lots of demons. You can run unknowns. You know, I kind of explained it in that last video. There's lots of different people you can run and lots of different teams you can build. It just depends on what you've got built up already, right? And like what works for you. I like this team because Escanor does consistent damage to help out melee. Deanne is good for attack increases, crit defense, the taunt, or instead of Deanne, I'd probably run another damage dealer. And all three of these are obviously sins, so they work well with demon melee as well. So we're now in phase 1 of the final phase of the bird. So we're getting there, fam. Good work if you're following along. The only thing really to know about this phase is just super tanky. He just takes a while to get down and work down. So just make sure you are prepared to kind of keep an eye on that, and obviously heal up when needed, taunt if you've got a taunt, and just kind of do that. So as you can see, we're not really going to do a lot of damage here. This is where Magelda comes in a lot, or very handy when she gives you all stats increases, right? So as you can see, we're doing bugger all damage. So yeah, healing up with Magelda here is always one of my favorite things to do, because you'll take yourself back to full HP, and you'll heal up, and it'll also cleanse the blockade if you have the Holy Relic, or for example, if you're running melee, you'll cleanse the blockade just like that because we have the cleanse. So the blockade basically means you can't use level 2s. I'm still going to heal for additional stat increases. Then I think I'll just literally throw these cards away, just because we top deck a whole bunch of cards. So that's very nice. So we should do a bit more damage here with the increase in all stats, with Melee's True Magic, all creation. So 224, 406 is damage cap, so what's that, about 25%? So it's not really that high. And then this, that's almost kind of showcases how helpful Escanor is, right? Because he would have killed there, bypassed damage cap. That's why someone like Roxy and Escanor are so helpful on here, because they do that kind of stuff, right? So again, as you can see, we've got blockade. His ult doesn't really do too much. We're going to cleanse that though, and I did top deck another heal cards, which is nice. So I'm going to heal up, and then I am going to. We'll use Escanor's card. You know what we'll do actually is we're going to heal, and then we're going to get Escanor ult, and then I will throw away the Magelda card. I could have got rid of some of the Deanne cards as well, but now I'm going into the next phase with double ult. Well, yeah, almost 3 ults, which is good. I would like another taunt with Deanne just to keep them off my team, but if I don't, that's okay. So this phase, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really remember too much of what it does, just because this is kind of, again, you have a 30% damage cap, and there's not really too much here that is to be caused kind of for concern. This is just kind of, the third floor is actually interesting because that first floor is tanky, and then after that there's not really too much to be worried about. So he does deplete ult gauge, so just be careful of that. He shocks the team, and he will, so he does delete skills at random, right? And that's just when he attacks one person. So it will delete skills from that person's hand. So I will just literally throw out some cards. Not overly, you know what I'm actually going to do? I'll do that. I probably could save these and top deck them, save them for the final fight. But I'm just going to kind of clear my hand out a little bit, just to save myself some room. So again, 224 damage cap. I'm not getting damage cap on Deanne, that's fine. I'm not expecting to. She's only 1/6. This will be damage cap as well from melee. And now he does apply a debuff here as well, as you can see. So once he drops below, I think it's 40%, you will get a dissolve attached to your units. You can obviously cleanse that if you're running DK melee, or you can use it if you're using, you can cleanse that with Holy Relic Magelda. There you go, so it is deleting cards from Deanne's hand. So I'm going to heal up just to cleanse the defense lower, as well as just to get everyone procced off again. And then I think what I'll do is I'll save some of these cards, so I'll just throw that away, merge that and get rid of that. So I'm saving some of my melee cards for next phase / the following phase. Just because I'm going to want some strong cards for the final fight, final phase 4, depending on what we get in terms of the passive, which I'll explain when we get there. So this one, you need to be careful of this. This buff card basically increases all his basic stats and gains evasion for 1 turn. So he will dodge all attack and debuff skills. He won't dodge ultimates, so it's not a bad idea to keep the ultimates handy just in case he does do that. But in short, this is what you want to be careful of. This is why like Red Matrona is really helpful, because she has a remove buffs, or Skadi, right? So I usually do enough damage to kind of just get through this floor before they do that. But again, just be careful, he does do that. And then each turn, he will disable one of these. It's a grey debuff. Let me explain this. So basically, this turn, he will, at the end of his turn, this purple thing here, he will come through and grey debuff and get rid of all stance cards. So I don't have any more stance cards for Diane, but if I did have in my hand after this turn, they'd be greyed out and I can't use them. So you don't want to hang around on this phase, because if he gets to, I think it's what, 5 turns, yeah, you can't use anything, right? So usually like 1, 2, 3 is enough. You just don't want to lose attack and you don't want to lose ultimate, right? So these 3 are doable depending on your team, but you definitely don't want to lose these 2. It's a grey debuff, you can't cleanse it, so don't muck around on this phase, and just be careful of the buffs as well. So on that note, what we're going to do is I will I'll do a lot of damage here, but I'll keep it, you know what, I'll keep enough just so you guys can see what I'm talking about when I'm saying the grey debuff. So the damage cap I think is 33% or 35% on this, so it's definitely easy enough to get through. Actually, I might kill. Oh, I did too much damage, so I won't be able to show you. But yes, don't dawdle on that phase. Do that if you can. If not, just take your time. Now, I did get lucky with this passive. All these passives are fine, they don't really make too much difference to you. The one you really want to watch out for is this final phase passive. So this weapon destruction is the best passive you can get, right? The worst passive you can get is, I think it's Overcomes Crisis. That means you'll basically have to be very, very careful. If you drop him below, I think it's 20 or 25% health, he will full heal and increase all his stats. So you want to avoid that. So make sure you keep an eye on this in terms of what he gets. The other one is also a 50% revive. So if you get a 50% revive, just yeet all your cards at the bird as quickly as you can. Drop him down to nothing. He'll pop back up to 50%. Then drop him back down to zero again, right? Because again, he does have this buff card as well. Increases basic stats and evade. If you don't have a buff removal, that's very, very annoying to deal with. Or you basically just have to wait out a turn. And sometimes you don't really have the option to wait out a turn to do nothing, right? Especially if you're not top decking any Magelda heals or anything along those lines. So, and if he does get the Overcomes Crisis, just be aware he does still have a 35% max HP damage cap, right? So you're basically going to need to do one attack, and then basically you need 3 damage caps and you'll wipe him. But just be careful of where you land. Right, sometimes you'll need to just pause, right, close the game, and then reopen it. So if you're in this scenario and you close the game right now, you will then reopen to this point in the fight. So sometimes you'll have to do that just until you get the math right on what cards to use. Again, being that we're lucky, I'm just going to kind of stance up, throw some cards away, and we can just keep going our way through. So this is basically the bird, guys. So there's a few kind of little mechanics and stuff that you're going to want to be careful of, but mostly it's just, well, not mostly, there's some few mechanics you're going to want to be careful of, but once you kind of master those, you guys will be fine. Obviously, depending on how tanky and stuff you are, you might want to increase taunts, you might want to bring in Arthur, or if you can have fine tanking but can't do enough damage, maybe you want to top deck your team with more damage cards. That is basically how you get through the bird, all the mechanics and all the gimmicks explained. I hope that's helpful, and I hope you guys, let me know down in the comments if I've missed anything or if there's anything that you guys want me to cover. But otherwise, I will catch you next time when we will cover some of the deer. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you then.